So you're stuck in quarantine, social distancing, being a responsible adult, and you're thinking to yourself, what is there to watch? What is on Amazon Prime? Well, I'll tell you, Scott and Crowley, a comic book adventure, is now on Amazon Prime, locally produced right here in Lawton, Oklahoma by Option D Productions. Two average nerds, Scott and Crowley, accidentally find the rarest comic book known to man, only to lose it minutes later. As word of the rare book spreads, Scott and Crowley must race against every elite geek in town to get it back. Scott and Crowley was an official selection of 2018's Comicpalooza, an official selection of SuitorCon, an official selection of 2018's San Diego Comic-Con International, and a winner of Best Feature Film at 2018's Fly Film Festival, along with tons of other awards and things. Check out Scott and Crowley, a comic book adventure, now on Amazon Prime.
Hello and welcome to the podcast that explores the heartland's entertainment industries. I'm Brian, and my guest, co-host / just guest today is Mr. Lucas Ross, comedian, actor, musician extraordinaire. You do everything.
Well, I do none of it very good. You just spread yourself thin enough, you just keep people busy. I had somebody come up to me after a show once and said, you do like 6 different things. Have you ever thought about being good at just one of them? and he meant it kind of as like he was trying to be inspiring, but
he was trying to be, that was his inspirational.
It was a real
Have you ever
slap in the
thought
face.
about sucking at just one thing?
No, he was like, just think of how good you'd be. And he continued. He's like, just think how good you'd be if you just did one of those things. And I was like,
you don't want to do just one thing.
No. I was like, thanks, Dad, but whatever.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you can also see that we have some Ross honey.
Wow, I didn't know we were going to be on the internet. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is real stuff.
So
I stole this from my parents.
You can add beekeeper to your laundry list of things that you do.
I can, but not really. I mean, I tried to get out of that business before I was even 11, I think.
So what all do you currently do?
I have been working in Oklahoma television for, maybe 15 years regularly. I do Rise and Shine, which is on Channel 4's sister station. Excuse me, not Channel 4 anymore. Now they're News 4. Oklahoma's News 4. I don't know.
They got to change it like once every, 3 years.
My key works when I get it. That's all I know about it. But I go and I do the morning show there. I do Rise and Shine. And then I do local commercials and some TV and film that might fall into work here. There's so many good opportunities in Oklahoma. It's just been really cool to watch that over the past decade. And then I office as of just about a year ago today at the American Banjo Museum, which is the only museum in the whole wide world can contribute or dedicated 100% to the banjo. And it's in Oklahoma City. We have this cool treasure. And a lot of people think it's a weird novelty.
That's so cool.
And it is. No, it's really incredible.
It's really sick. I mean, like they even had a Kermit exhibit in there.
We still do. It will be up for they've extended it for another half a year. But like all these banjos, and what's cool about that is it's this neat kind of a beacon for the instrument where celebrities and major Grammy-winning artists will come here. And a lot of people here in Oklahoma don't even know that like Bela Fleck and John McEwen from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band are just hanging out here all the time, and they love it. It's this hub for bluegrass and all styles of banjo players. So I'm very fortunate to get to work there. It works great for me. It worked out great for me, and it's in my own backyard. I didn't have to leave to go to Hollywood to work at the Banjo Museum.
Well, I definitely want to talk about that concept of staying here in Oklahoma as opposed to moving out to the coasts to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. Since you do a lot, just a wide range of different things, this episode, usually we kind of hone in on one topic. We're just going to hone in on you, man.
Well, I was really hoping I could just talk about my timeshare opportunity I have for your viewers.
Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
I've gotten into a little bit of trouble. I bought a big plot of land in around Chickasha. It's kind of swampy, and I need if I could get $12.50 from every one of your listeners, that'd be great.
So if you go to patreon.com/Lucas Ross.
Is in a bad situation.
Lucas is in a bad situation.
That's really why I'm on here now. I'm doing bad, Brian. I'm doing really bad.
That's why you got to be careful about buying land.
Well, I just didn't read the fine print about it. It's really swampy. It's good. The water, you can stand on it. it's good. Let's just
By
say
water, you mean gators?
you kind of, well, they put the can in contamination, so it's like a good thing. But did I answer all your questions?
And that's it. That's the whole interview. So, like, take us back. Like, I'm curious about your overall journey because it's been lasting for forever.
Aren't we all on this weird journey together?
We're just on this weird revolving globe.
I'll tell you the short version. This is the 6-hour version. But my it's going
to be the world's longest episode of Okie Show.
It's going to be great. And it's all about the timeshare. It's all going to come back to that. So just make sure you're paying attention. No, I'm from Minco, Oklahoma, which is a small farm town south of here. And my parents are beekeepers. My grandpa started the honey business in the 1930s, early 40s, and moved it to Minco. After the war, a lot of clover and cotton and alfalfa was being planted around that area, and he saw an opportunity to be able to make honey off of it, and he became the largest honey producer in the state for several years. My dad married into the business, and then they had kids, and I was the oldest, and we made a honey commercial when I was in second grade, and I was like, this is so much more of what I want to do. And I know Larry Bledsoe, he's an Oklahoma personality for years, and he used to do a Southwest Ford commercial, and they go, that's incredible. And I go, no, that's Southwest Ford, Southwest 59th and Penn. And he produced our honey commercial when I was in second grade, and he let me hang out with him and the news people and everybody during the day. And it was like, I just loved it. I love this idea. You can film something and you could put it out there for everybody to see. And it changed me, and I was like obsessed with TV and that kind of thing ever since. I was like, this is more for me than the bees.
I'm getting out of this bee business.
You guys can go mind your own beeswax, and
I'm gonna go into the big city, see, and I'm gonna become a star, see?
Yeah, you're gonna cut out all my bad jokes, right? This episode's gonna be 30 seconds.
Right? Yeah. No, you sent me a link to that commercial, and it's first of all, totes adorbs. Because you are itty bitty.
But my glasses are huge. They're actually like the same size, and I realize I'm wearing about the same model as I was in like 87.
You've been wearing the same glasses for 30 years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're huge. And so it's me and my brother and sister, and they filmed it at one of the local news stations, and in like the way it works is the same way they do it now. And years later, these are the kind of commercials I'd have to make on the side. I'd get to be allowed to make on the side whenever I was working.
Oh no, I have to do it.
Yeah, at Channel 4, and it's these local commercials where it's like, "Hi, I'm Bill, and I have a pickle stand, and here's my phone number, and I'm in my own commercials because the station told me this would be a good idea." And it's not bad. And it's these charming local commercials. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a Mathis brother when I grew up. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Credit Jewelry Cowboy. Remember that guy?
Oh God,
he was great.
The Credit Jewelry Cowboy.
Oh,
that's
man.
a deep cut, man.
I know. Hey, I'm not messing around. And he was great too because he would just be walking in a field and not even have to show you jewelry, and he made a whole career out of it.
That never made any sense to me. This rugged, dusty man.
Well, because he figured out his audience, and it was, I lost my horse about a mile back, and Credit Jewelry helped me find my horse. And they also helped me find something nice for my wife, too. So it's like, Credit Jewelry will... And I never thought, like, did they get other calls from people like, hey, Credit Jewelry, my horse is gone. Can you help me?
Yeah.
You help the cowboy on TV? Look, I'll buy a ring.
I love, like, their target audience was, like, grown old men who were just looking at their wives and going, I don't know.
And then he made a great career out of it. And R.I.P. He lived a good life. And so I saw those local commercials and stuff, and that's what we made. So it was a local commercial, and the whole idea was it was supposed to be a breakfast setting, and my mother was going to, like, pour honey on biscuits. And the idea with these biscuits were supposed to have steam that was going to come out of them. And, of course, they were cooked and shellacked, like, the night before, so they weren't hot anymore. And all the production guys are just standing around there. And now it's funny because I've worked with these guys before. They've worked in it for so long, and they're very talented, and some of them are burned out, and some of them are tired, and some of them are just like, I know what the expectations are, and this is all we need to do, or this is how we can do this. Anyway, they were trying to figure out how to make steam come out of these biscuits. And I'm like 8, and my sister and brother, we're all sitting around this table, and this guy leaves, and he comes back, and he's got one of these, like, leather, like, aprons on and a big mask, these gas masks, and a dropper and a coffee mug. And he goes, y'all kids don't breathe this. And he dipped this concoction on the stuff, and is like with this weird. I don't know what he went and mixed some like cleaning supplies.
Alchemy.
And so
let me just go cook some meth real quick, and I'm just gonna drop it on these biscuits.
That's exactly what it was. You were there,
and the biscuits were amazing.
If you see. First off, my mom went and she got her hair all fixed and everything like that. All you see is her hand. She's not even in the commercial. The three of us are terrified. Well, my sister and I were older. My little brother is probably like a year and a half old. We're terrified. My sister's eyes are as big as dinner plates, just looking at this biscuit like, we're going to die. This is how we die, and they've got it on camera. And so you can't even, we've watched it a million times trying to see if we can see the smoke. And I think a couple times we're like, I think I saw like, I couldn't see anything.
It's just a figment of your imagination at that point.
Yeah, meanwhile, my little brother Marcus is just sitting there, just breathing like nothing. And that was my first commercial experience. And I didn't know how true like that and educational that was. And I don't know, I tell people, it's like, you learn, no matter where you want to go in this road that we're on, and in arts and in trying to make it like film or music or whatever it is, you're going to take what you learn, whether it's a skill or something or just an experience, and it will be applied to something in your life. And I had no idea that I was really learning some things I'm going to go back to whenever I was 2. And mostly, and that is whenever I was shooting commercials now, is don't mix chemicals and put it in front of a child.
Right.
And I would not have known that.
Yeah.
I would have done it every time.
Number 1 in filmmaking.
I would have constantly been mixing chemicals and just putting them out for people
you would have been your number 1 thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and I whenever I watched that commercial, I was like, why does this music sound really familiar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess it was license free, and all the local stations would use it because another very famous, and I didn't know this for years.
Well, it's clever because it was another Ross that used that music.
I never thought about that ever.
I was like, this sounds familiar. I know where this is from. Oh,
The Joy of Painting with
The
Bob
Joy
Ross.
of Painting. That's right.
And like these weird jazz chords. It's like, when you want to buy local honey, there's one family in Oklahoma that's just crazy enough to shoot a commercial for it.
Buy our honey.
Oh, and I remember it could only air because that was the way that the stations get you. And airtime costs a lot more than the production. So they'll be like, hey, free commercial if you buy airtime. Like, okay, great. Yeah, we'll do that. When they realize it costs a lot if you want your commercial to air at a time anybody's going to see it. And this is back before the internet, this is before anything like that. So TV really, you would get your there wasn't a lot of stations. This is like early cable probably. I'm an old man, Brian. And we were smoking. All the kids were smoking. Like, you could have just had, let's just blow smoke on the biscuits. But I forgot what I was saying. I envisioned my little brother smoking a cigarette at a year and a half.
And a train of thought just lost, derailed by chain smoking.
And I also forgot to take my ADD medicine before I did this class because I wanted to be really hyper for you, and it's going to catch me. And sorry, you're punished.
Our hyperness will meet.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because
don't mess with your meds, kids.
That's right. I mean, my blood is coffee, basically, at this point. Oh, yeah. So how did you go from chemical-induced biscuits to working at Channel 4?
It was one step, actually. Okay, so in Minko, there wasn't like a lot of chances to perform or anything. And so we'd have talent shows. And I would do that. I would like impersonate Steve Martin when I was like 12 years old. I'd get a white suit and put an arrow through my head and do comedy. And I wouldn't understand why people weren't roaring and screaming for me like they would in these old... he was the first comedian to really put out these arena-size
he was
things.
Huge.
And what a cheap travel. He had no band. He had like one prop and 2 banjos, maybe. And it was money, total money. Anyway, I would go and I performed those and wouldn't understand why the people didn't laugh like they did there. And I realized, they just weren't high. Maybe that was it. No, it's because he was famous and whatever. So but I always had a fascination with Steve Martin and comedy and stuff. And then and I was a mascot. The Minko Bulldog. That was the only chance I could perform regularly, so I hung out with cheerleaders all the time.
There you go.
So I had that going for me. And I did... So my junior or senior year, somebody talked me into auditioning for theater in Oklahoma City. Jewel Box Theater. They did an outside production of Bye Bye Birdie, and I got cast as a comic relief, the little nerdy guy. And ever since then, it kind of like Chuck Tweed was the director. He just recently retired from many years at the Jewel Box Theater in Oklahoma City, and he kind of let me cut my teeth on that, and it just snapped. And that was a great role
Yeah.
because I didn't have to sing or dance. I got to get drunk and kiss a girl, I think was my two big parts. I was Hugo Peabody. And I stayed a nerd after that. And it worked out great. I went to college and did some plays and stuff. I went to Oklahoma Christian University. In my senior year, I studied film in Los Angeles and then got an internship at that 70s show. And I took in a lot. I got to learn a whole lot in the industry really fast. And in between that time, I was like working on trying to get, like I get my headshots taken, but I was too scared to actually go try to get an agent or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so I went out and I did the LA thing for a little bit and then came back and my now wife, who was a cheerleader, so it all came together.
Cheerleader married the mascot.
Jokes on her. Sorry, Ob. But we ended up just staying in Oklahoma because like the housing market and things crashed and all my friends that were working in LA still couldn't even get jobs to suffice in between because there were writer strikes and acting strikes and stuff. Yeah. And then because I was in Oklahoma, I started getting cast in the stuff that I wasn't getting when I lived there because I was this novelty. Oh, you're from Oklahoma? How fun.
Right.
And in LA, nothing against your LA, I'm sure your LA viewers out there, but they would ask me all the time. They're like, you're from Oklahoma. So like, do you still travel? I know you don't all the time because I've seen cars and pictures, but do you have a covered wagon or do you regularly travel? And I was like, yeah. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I live in a teepee.
Well, that's what they'd say. I heard you have to have a police escort to get through Native American reservation areas. And I'd be like, yeah, yes, stay out of my state.
Good Lord. These are the woke people, by the way.
You know they are.
Yeah.
It was what's funny is like California is made up from people from all over the place too.
Oh, yeah.
And they act like, oh, I'm from LA. No, you're not. You're from Tennessee.
Yeah.
No. And if you're from LA, you're trying to get out, and you're done with all these.
Yeah.
Really. It's great. I had some great experiences there, but and I still have some of those good friendships. But being in Oklahoma, I started. I got a local agent, and I landed on a couple of local commercials, and then working at an ad agency landed me at Channel 4, and I started doing on-air stuff there, and then just kept doing more and more and more.
Your current job at KFOR. Is it KFOR still, or is it
Yeah, it can still be that.
Okay.
It's News 4, KFOR, Channel 4, no channel.
Just 4.
Yeah.
Just the number. They claimed the whole number.
Well, they did. They own it.
They have a patent on it. So,
Probably.
like, your job at Channel 4 baffles me because you're not a reporter.
No. I think I am on paper. I'm technically an entertainment reporter. For tax purposes for them, probably. I don't know.
Right. This guy always.
I fly so low on the radar that I've got job security there for two reasons. One, I don't get paid enough to, like, you know what I mean? Until they get down to the nitty gritty and they're like, every time we go shopping, we always buy. I had my position described to me one time. It's like, you know, when you go to the grocery store every month and you always get the same things. And you always get saltine crackers. And you might not even eat them, but you always get them because you always did. And then one day you're like, you know what? I don't really know if I need these saltine crackers. That's you. I was like, how is that supposed to make you feel good?
Yeah.
And did you call me a cracker? All right.
Come on, Dad.
Yeah, Dad.
So you create a very large percentage of entertainment on the morning show, which, by the way, what time do you get up in the morning?
Well, everybody thinks because like the news in Oklahoma starts like at 4 a.m. now.
Yeah.
And
it's daylight savings time, so now it's 3.
Oh yeah. I don't even know. No, I don't come in until right before 7 now.
Wow.
So the show my show starts from 7 to 9. It goes from 7 to 9. And I walk in like sometimes 2 minutes. I was putting my microphone on today, like as the camera was tipping over this because it's all filmed in the same studio. So they end one newscast and they literally, you can watch it. If you flip over right at 7 on 43, you can see the camera is turning. Sometimes they leave it over there and you can see them all badmouthing. No, just kidding. They're great. They're all great people. Everybody's
those guys
great.
over there.
But we are kind of like the little brother that's just like, this show. But it's got this charm and we have this weird, fun viewing base of people that have become this community and real neat people that you get to know. And and that's what I get to do is I get to read Facebook posts, which are crazy
God
in this
bless
day and
you.
age.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to be really careful that I don't like, you just think, oh, this is fun. A kid dressed up like something for Halloween, but now it means something. And you can't,
Oh,
not
now
just
you're accidentally outing this child as appropriating some culture.
Right, when I'm giving an example.
You're like ruining his life with a smile on your face.
Well, and recently we had like Halloween. People would send in Halloween costumes. Somebody dressed their kid up like the president. And you don't know if it's to mock or to support or whatever. And used to, it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to just do a thing, whatever. But now it's like, oh, this is what you're saying. Because everybody has to be so extreme.
Ugh.
Well, that's how those powerful people stay in power, as long as all the people aren't getting along.
Yeah, that's true.
There, I said it. If we start getting along with each other, it's going to make them nervous, because then that's when we can mutiny.
What do they do? Yeah.
Right.
Ugh. You know what?
You want to run for office with me?
Let's do it. Gilliland and Ross. And we'll start a shoe company, too. That sounds like a shoe company for some
let's
reason.
just do the shoe company. That sounds fun.
Yeah, forget politics.
Oh, yeah. So anyway,
we'll win over souls in a different way.
I like it.
I love the delayed. Took a second.
Takes me a little bit.
So, golly, you've been doing Channel 4 now for
12, 13 years maybe.
Oh my gosh,
almost 13. Boy, that's way too long.
It's too long.
I've oversaturated this market like several years ago. Way too much of me on TV.
One of your legacies, and you have many.
Oh my!
But one of your legacies is Sweet Brown.
Oh man!
And the world knows Sweet Brown as the lovely person who I've run into several times.
Yeah. Always
at the liquor store. And she's a lovely person, and she
is. The whole family is so sweet, and that was really interesting.
So, what's the story there with Sweet Brown? How did you make Sweet Brown famous?
I didn't. I remember they showed her story and her on-air rant, and I wish people could see. I have the full cut, the whole thing, and what she did after they cut away is so funny, and it's just her, because it's 100% her and charming, and she's very intelligent and a very well-spoken person. But she made so many funny comments, and if you don't know what we're talking about, I guess it's still on YouTube somewhere. Yeah, but everybody was talking about
to catch the audience up, just in case you don't know who we're talking about, look up Sweet Brown on YouTube. It's the Ain't Nobody Got Time for That.
Yeah, and it became such a phenomenon, I guess. And I just put it on Facebook because nobody else was sharing it. And I wanted to show some friends. I was like, you got to see this. I think she's great.
Yeah.
And it got shared a lot on my Facebook page and just kind of exploded. And so I was getting credited with this whole thing. And then people were like, well, he works at the station. This whole thing's fake. Maybe she's fake. Maybe all this
fake
is fake.
News.
And I was like, people give
Sweet Brown is fake news.
People give news stations way too much credit. And not that they don't have the intelligence to do it. There's no time. There's no time to think like that. That would be a genius marketing move.
Yeah.
And there's executives that would love to be able to, but you don't know what will go viral. You can show something, and the timeline, you could discover something now that was literally from decades ago, and now it's like really funny because it's ironic or whatever. Yep. Anyway, that was kind of crazy. I had Jimmy Kimmel's people were contacting me directly asking me for permission. And I said, well, and I asked the news station, like, what do you want me to do? And I remember one person said, do not delete that video. And that person was Linda Kavanaugh. And I was like,
legendary okay. Linda Kavanaugh.
She's like, yeah. And so, but I will say this, it kind of was a negative thing for me, and I'm sure for her too, because a lot of people were using her image without her permission and stuff. And I would talk to her for a while, and then it kind of turned into, she had a family member that was acting as her legal advisor, who I felt like I was kind of getting, I'll be honest, I was kind of getting targeted a little bit, and they were trying to use me as like I had this, like I was making all this money off of her, and I didn't at all. And I was trying to help them set up like maybe a YouTube. Like, if she posted like a video one a day, she could, you could really make a lot of money with YouTube and stuff. I just from what I know, and I don't know that much about it, but it wasn't, I had to kind of step out of the way. I went forward and tried to help raise some money and try to help them out to try to, I think at one time to relocate or something. And I knew her son, I was trying to like work with him on getting scholarships and stuff, because he wants to be a musician at the time. I don't know what he's doing now, but really neat family. But it kind of turned really sour to where I would call, and they were just one of those things. They were getting misinformed, I think, and I didn't have the information and didn't know. And so time passed, and it was like really bad. And so anytime I'd go anywhere and I'd hear that, I would just cringe. And it was, seriously, I think the tour of Spamalot came here, or Lyric did Spamalot, and one of the throwaways, like they always do something that's a local thing. They're like, the home of Oklahoma City, sweet brown, ain't nobody got time for that. And everybody in the theater looked at me like, you did this. And I was like, oh, and it made me sick because I was like, I didn't want these people to hate me. And she did.
Yeah.
They thought I was this devil and this person. And I hated that she didn't, but I have reconnected with her. I ran into her daughter a couple years ago, and she said, no, we found out we were getting bad advice from somebody, and we were sorry we listened to them. And so if they're out there listening, sweet, I think you are so wonderful, and I just wish the best for her. And the last I heard, they were doing something, she was marketing some things, and she had restructured to where she was getting the money she should be getting. Good. And I had to step out of it. It really stinks, but for both my job, I couldn't jeopardize my actual position there. And otherwise it turns into everybody wants to be on camera thinking, if you're going out to film any story, which I don't do news, I just shared a thing. But you run into that thing where everybody's like, oh, I want to do that.
You're going to make me famous.
Yeah. And then I get paid. And so it's kind of...
That's an unfortunate thing that I've noticed about sometimes when things go viral, people assume that, because now you are famous, that the fortune comes with that fame. And like people kind of like start jumping on and latching onto it and stuff. And it's just kind of an unfortunate human nature thing, I think.
Right.
It's just sad.
And I'm glad to, well, I don't really know what else to say about that. I feel like Forrest Gump.
That's all I have to say about that.
But I am grateful that I kind of personally have some closure there. But it was pretty bad. I'll be honest. It was like pretty upsetting for a while. And
really?
People online just don't understand, and they would attack you, and people rile up stuff, and just
that's why
because people want clicks. They just want clicks.
Yeah. Well, that's why the internet is awful.
Yeah. Well, it can be. The thing is, it can be so great.
I feel like YouTube is wonderful, not the comments section.
Yeah, and I like that you can now just like not even let it be commentable.
Oh,
but
that's
the thing
good.
is, that's where
wonderful.
it makes money. It's where it makes money because people click and whatever. Anyway. So tell us below how much you hate us. Hey.
Yeah. So in a second, we're going to talk about your musical journey because, man, when I first met you, I think you had just picked up a banjo, and now you're playing with the Oklahoma Philharmonic pretty soon.
Oh, my gosh.
So we're going to talk about that in just a second, right after these messages.
Grandson, I'd like to read you a book.
A book?
That's right. When I was your age, television was called books, and this is a very special book. A book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. And today I'm going to read it to you. Now, Chapter 1. Altgate is a commercial insurance broker with film and entertainment expertise, headquartered in Oklahoma.
Grandpa?
At Altgate, they're experts in film and entertainment insurance. Like one time we were shooting down in a valley and a monsoon came out of nowhere. Within minutes, the whole set and all of our equipment was underwater. But guess what?
You had production insurance?
We had production insurance. Another time we were shooting in a historic building and a grip sent a C-stand sailing right through the priceless painting. Boom!
Oh, jeez. Did you have...
You bet your small coffeeed keister we had production insurance.
Are you reading that book?
Altgate Insurance has the same access to insurance as a broker from New York or LA, but they're in Oklahoma, you see. That means you get the Oklahoma film rebate and local people available anytime you need them.
But I have pink eye.
Check them out online at oklahoma-film.com or call them at 918-574-4555. They place annual policies for producers of all types, post-production E&O, and specific film project policies for budgets of all sizes. And they work with musicians, too, placing insurance for gigs and events of all types.
Can they get annual policies for production companies as well as one-off insurance for a single production?
Sure as shootin'. No matter what's your budget, whether it's a $5,000 budget or a $15 million budget, Altgate Insurance can help you. And they can also find you coverage for post-production errors and omissions. And you're gonna need it in order to get your film distributed.
Grandpa?
Yeah, kid?
I kind of feel like we should call Altgate at 918-574-4555 for our movie's production insurance. That's 918-574-4555.
You're a smart kid, you know that? Oh, look at that. And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Hey, Grandpa?
Yeah, kid?
That was a weird book. Actually, it kind of felt more like a podcast mid-roll ad. But maybe 2 weeks from now you can read it to me again.
As you wish.
And we're back here with Mr. Lucas Ross, him and his banjo, because you've been playing banjo for Lord knows how long.
It's about not. What time is it?
Let's say it's 2019. You start
9 years.
9 years?
Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe 10
I mean,
years.
2020, because this is coming out in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Future
10
past.
years.
10 years.
I started playing. I had a banjo in high school. I had access to banjo, but I didn't know how to tune it or play it really.
Yeah.
There's no internet. I didn't know what the 5th string peg was on it, and I thought you tied your banjo, your strap to it. I played it with a penny. I tuned it as an open chord so I could just like strum. And I didn't know that's kind of close to a banjo tuning is an open.
Yeah.
And I would imitate Steve Martin at like local talent shows and stuff. And then years later, my wife took me to see him when he went back on tour, which I never thought I'd get to see him in person, much less perform. And he started doing his bluegrass stuff about 2009.
Yeah.
And we went and saw him, and I was like, I'm going to get a banjo, and I'm going to meet him. I'm going to spend a year learning to play banjo, and I'm going to meet Steve Martin. So I started on his birthday, August 14th, 2009, and spent a whole year learning to play the banjo with the goal to either master enough of the banjo and meet him. And a whole year went by, and I learned to play banjo, but I didn't meet him.
Oh.
But I met him 4 days later,
There you
which
go.
is really weird. And I was like, man, I should have set a goal that was like find $1 million.
Yeah. Then you would have been a millionaire.
And I've been scared to ever make a goal since then because it was like, yeah, it was right.
What are the odds of that? And now, like,
My goal is to find $1 million by the end of this podcast.
and it'll
And
be
if
somewhere in this couch.
It might be 3 days later, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yep. Delayed gratification is a good thing. Well,
That's the name of my new kids album.
Delayed gratifications. Well, and it's crazy because like now you and Mr. Martin, like you guys kind of talk a little bit on Twitter and
It
stuff.
appears to be that way, but not really. I mean, he if he knows who I am, that would be just terrifying for me because it would not be for a good reason. It would be because I'm on some watch program.
Right. For me, I'm terrified. I have a rule that whenever I'm working with somebody that like I'm a big fan of, that like I can't interact with them because I'll turn into goo. Like,
And I've got to interview. Like, I love Weird Al. I got to interview him once. And it wasn't my... Don't go watch it. I forgot I was talking to him halfway through, and I was just listening to him. I was like, oh, my goodness, I have to, like, ask him questions. And I just stopped in the middle on live TV, and I was like, are we still doing this? Is this happening right now? And at the end, I was like, I can't believe this happened. And he was like, me too. And, like, hugging. He was so great. And totally, yeah. But Steve Martin, I was like, okay. And I've got to meet him now 3 times, 3 separate occasions, and I still have not actually talked to him because I just go fluff. Like I don't.
Yeah.
The first time my wife and I met him was after a show in Tulsa, and he walked out and he was like, "Do you want a picture or something or autograph?" I was like, "I just want to say hey, maybe take a picture, hi." And he's like, yeah, "Okay." And so we're talking, and I was like, just stand next to him, and I go, "You tweeted me once." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, nothing." He's like, "What'd you say?" And I said, "You tweeted me the other day." Because he responded to a tweet. I had said something on, I think it was a video. I talked about him on Channel 4, and I posted a video clip of it, and he watched it and wrote back, "Hey, thanks so much," or something. So he's like, well, tell me what you said to make me write back to you. And so we started kind of talking. He just kind of paused, and he went, "Are you the," and got cut off.
Oh,
and he goes, "Are you the guy?" And this voice from across the parking lot, this backstage of this Tulsa goes, this old guy went, "Mr. Martin."
Shut up, old guy.
In 1985, my son gave you a demo tape. Have you got a chance to listen to it yet? And Steve Martin looked at me and my wife, and he's like, "What?" And looked over at them, and it was this great Steve Martin moment, like he does in his movies, like we're just like, huh? But it wasn't that campy, and he looked at me and Aubrey, and he went, and shrugged, kind of like, and that was a great moment there because suddenly I wasn't the psycho guy that was screaming.
Yeah.
So that was good, and I had
You
that.
were the normal guy in
For a
the
moment.
room.
He just kind of looked at me, kind of like, and we were like, "This is great. Okay, fine, great, fine." Got to meet him. Got to say hi. Didn't shake his hand or anything like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But fast forward a few years later, I was seeing him with Martin Short. My brother and I got to see him and Martin
I
Short
wanted
together.
to see that show so bad.
And there's a Netflix special, but it's always different. If you have a chance to go see it live, don't think, well, I watched the Netflix special. Go see it because Martin Short's energy is incredible. They should just charge him up, and he could cure all of the energy issues in our world. And Oklahoma energy people would be totally behind this.
Yeah.
They could just hook
He's a
up
human nuclear reactor.
Yes, they could just hook up little clippers onto his knees and his ears or something, and he could power the entire United States.
Yep.
He's great. and Canada. The show was great, and so we were seeing him. We were in practically Texas. What's the casino? WinStar, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So we were there.
Right on the border.
Right. And Byron Burline, the amazing Byron Burline, the fiddle player.
Yeah.
He and I I become friends, and I got to have him on. I interviewed him a couple times, and I've shot some videos with him and played banjo with him, and I bought my banjo from him. And he, after the show was over, he stood up, and he was sitting right in front of us the whole time, this tall, white-haired legend. I mean, Byron Burline is really the legend. In fact, Steve Martin opened for Byron Burline back in the 70s, the mid-70s.
Oh, wow.
He did a week at the Troubadour with Linda Ronstadt, Byron and Linda Ronstadt, and Steve Martin was their opening act. And so he has this whole neat story about him in his autobiography, and he's somebody you should totally talk to. He's a great guy. So anyway, he was going to go backstage to give him a copy of his book, and he turns around, he's like, "Are you going backstage? Did you get one of these backstage bracelets?" I was like, "No, Byron, I'm nobody, man." And he's like, and he knows I love that I really admire Steve Martin, and he's like, "Well, let's see if we can sneak you back there." So he just puts his arm around me and starts going. And there were some like other guys that saw me, and I felt all these hands on me, like I was being rescued from some like. I was like, "I'll come back for you. Like, see you later, suckers." So I go backstage and I realize I'm the only guy without a bracelet on. So what is a guy who's obviously supposed to be there and definitely has a bracelet on? He puts his hands in his pockets to not show you his bracelet, right?
You could have been part of the CIA.
That was my improv. So I was back there and I was like, "This is a ticking time bomb, and I'm the thing here. Something's bad is going to happen here."
And it's going to be focused on you.
Know, Byron's Byron. He's been doing this for so long. He doesn't care anymore. So the security guard walks up and he's like, "Hey, man, where's your bracelet?" And I was like, "I don't have one." And he's like, "I'm sorry, but it's totally strict." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I mean, I followed Steve Martin's career. I know how it works."
I'm on your side.
I was like, I totally get it. And I was almost like hoping, it's like, "Yes, just get me out of here before this gets bad." And Byron puts his arm around me. He's like, "Don't you know who this man is? He's on Freedom 43 TV." And I'm like, "Byron, we're like in Texas. This guy doesn't mean anything here." In fact, if we were in Oklahoma and he did know who I was, that would prevent me even more so.
He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I know you.
I wouldn't have gotten into the show at all."
Now you extra can't come in.
Yeah, extra can't. And and so Byron's like, "Don't you know who he is? He's on Freedom 43. And the security guard looked and he was like, "Hey, listen, I'm so sorry. Go right in." And it worked. And Byron goes, "All right, buddy, you're on your own," and pushed me. And so I was out like. So I talked to a few people. Martin Short was like levitating around in a bathrobe. I mean, he had his costume on. He's just dripping wet from how hard he works on stage.
Yeah.
60-something years old and so great.
Gosh.
And there's Steve Martin. So Byron introduced me to him. I got to shake his hand. Byron introduced me to him, and I said, you tweeted me, because it had been another occasion. I was like, why do I keep bringing this up?
I really want Steve Martin to know that he tweeted me.
All I wanted to say to him is, thank you for inspiring me for my comedy and for my music, because I've made so many great friends like Byron and because of this instrument.
Yeah.
And I've got to find things I never would have without Steve Martin, kind of being that gateway. I didn't get to say it. And so that was fine. And a few minutes later, I'm kind of hanging out. About 30 minutes went by, and I took a picture with them and everything, and it was all good. And the security guard kind of pops his head in and is kind of like, "Hey, come here." And I walk over there, and he's like, and my brother was there somewhere. He's like, "Hey, your brother's looking for you?" And I was like, and that was his code of being like, "You got to get out of here, or I'm going to lose my job." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I get it." So I was like, shoot, I'm like on a watch list now, because I've been removed from a backstage here with Steve Martin by security, and I don't know, hopefully nobody saw, but everybody sees when the security guard comes into a room and removes a person.
Out, yeah.
And I'm that guy.
Yeah. And now there's a restriction.
Well, so now I work at the American Banjo Museum, and Steve Martin, we have a working relationship. He's done some things with us. Johnny Byer, the executive director, and he have worked together, and we brought his banjos here a few years ago. It was so cool. So just recently, Steve and Marty, because I can say that because I hang out with them all the time, they were here for their concert at the Civic Center, and he was like, "I'm going to come to the museum." And for like 10 years, they've been trying to get him to come to the museum. Even when he got inducted, he couldn't make it because he's just busy. And he's at the time of his life. He's got a kid, and he wants to. And if he doesn't have a job that brings him right next door, he can't justify it. And I totally get that. He doesn't have to do anything. He's Steve Martin. So he's going to come to the museum. So we were going to close down early that day, and I was going to get to be allowed to be there. And I told them I'd be on my best behavior. They're like, "Yeah, we know you're a pro. We've seen you with Weird Al." I'm like, "Don't watch that clip." And so I was like, I'm going up early because I remembered I have all these Steve Martin pictures on my wall, and I've got like concert T-shirts and things that were. And I was like, I don't want to
remove all the evidence.
Yeah. So I was like, I really don't want to, because I'm getting like anxious and weird here.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it, man.
Hopefully, and I'm sure he doesn't even know who I am or remember me. I'm praying that he doesn't. But So I go up 2 hours early, and I pull into the parking lot, and I get a phone call from the lobby inside, and Margie, who works at the museum, says, Lucas, Mr. Martin just came and just left 2 minutes ago. He came way early. And I was like, what? He came through in like 20 minutes and breezed through because he wanted to see it, and he took a bunch of pictures, and really it was the best scenario because he came in, flew under, there was a little band that was playing on the stage. I had no idea this guy walked up and started filming them. And then they were like, well, that's Steve Martin, you know? It was really special. And there's this one elusive, I'll send you this picture you can use for whatever. You can, I don't know if you edit this, but there's a picture of him through a doorway walking in. It's like our own Bigfoot version. It's like, you can tell it's Steve Martin. He's just like,
he's blurry
for real.
and hairy for some reason.
And that's it. We didn't get any other pictures of him. He took a picture. But, so anyway, I missed him.
That's so cool.
But that night after the concert, I had tickets to go to it, and I ended up on a list to go backstage and meet him. So after all this time, after 2 times of kind of running into him, 1 time almost illegally, I was finally on the list. I had permission. I was going to be there.
Finally, you were meant to be there.
Mayor Holt was there. All this was going on. So I get there. It's my turn. I get to walk up. Steve looks at me and goes, I hope you're not a criminal. And everybody busted out laughing because they all know the joke. And I was like, oh my goodness, he knows.
He knows my obsession with him.
He's like,
and
saw
he
my
knows
office.
that he tweeted me.
And that's the thing, he saw my office. I didn't get to.
Oh no!
I'm missing everything but the red string that's like tying everything together. You know, like those obsessed.
And like
things.
a knife through his face.
No, that's there. That's there. Anyway,
that's what catches the door.
So I tell people I got to meet Steve Martin. I got my picture taken with him, and I got his autograph on the restraining order.
That's awesome. Oh, that's great.
Oh, boy.
Would you like to play a banjo tune
I
for
would.
us?
I brought my little 5-string here. I have a song called, if I can remember all the words. You edit it out if I mess up, okay?
I'll make it sound perfect.
This is on a kid's album, but it's not really a song for kids because it's so vulgar. No, it's just weird comedy that's like, why would you sing this on a kid's album? But it's to entertain the parents too. And I don't know.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to love like the jokes that I didn't get on the Muppet Show, but I thought was super cool because like, I don't know what this is, but adults think it's funny. So there's a song called Local News, and it's all about local news in Oklahoma pretty much.
Okay.
But it could apply anywhere.
All right.
And let's see if I can remember it. It's about the local news reporters and what they have to go through, because I've witnessed a lot of it. And while I am not one myself,
right.
I can, I feel for them. So this is their anthem, and don't tell them I sing the song, because they'll hate it.
This is Local News Reporters, not by Lucas Ross.
Right. I am your live local late-breaking news reporter on the scene and the story, here with the most exclusive scoop for you. And if you'll follow me on social media, that would really help me out. I'm credible. This is local news. There's a deadly household item we told you to go buy last week, but now it's been recalled because it's bad for you. We'll tell you how to get rid of it, and we'll take credit for saving your lives. Tonight at 10. If you're still alive by then, I am your live local late breaking news reporter on the scene and the story, here with the most exclusive scoop for you. And one more thing about that deadly household item, you don't have to be using it for it to kill you. This is local news. Now, when it's snowing, you know it's cold when it's snowing, but there's something that reporters do. We'll go outside while it's snowing and stand outside while it's snowing to show you that it's cold. I don't know why, but this is what we do. I am your live local breaking news reporter on the scene and the story. I hope I get an Emmy for this, and if you wouldn't mind bringing me an extra pair of socks, my pinky toe just fell off. It's okay, it's on ice. This is local news. Local reporters have a heavy burden to bear. They have to write and do their own research and have perfect hair. Sometimes it's hard to find a story to share, but you can't have dead air. Oh, am I still on? Local news roll call. These are all real stories. Alabama, a man gets arrested for getting drunk and trying to shoot the moon. California, a woman gives birth, fights bees, and causes an explosion. Talk about a baby boom. There's a lot of bad puns, too. Idaho, a man and a brother get in a fight because one ate too many peanut butter sandwiches. Alaska, a woman gets in trouble because she complains at a restaurant because her sandwich has too many pickles on it. Washington, D.C., a plane had to land early because of an escaped emotional support pig. Oklahoma City. Some idiot on live TV falls trying to dance a jig. That last one we made up. In Florida. Oh, Florida. We don't have time for all the crazy stuff in Florida. You're your own song there. Something you could feed your cat. Meow. That won't just make him fat. Meow. It could hurt his feline belly. Meow, meow, meow. We'll tell you how to feed him right. But not till next Tuesday night. This really happened. When I first started Channel 4, there was a promo that was like, what you could be feeding your cat that could kill it. We'll tell you what it is. Next Tuesday at 6, and people are like, you tell me now! I care about my cat more than my children! It was poison. It was actually poison. They were just saying, don't feed your cat poison. I am your live complete breaking news reporter on the scene of the story, hearing the most exclusive scoop for you. And if you feel yourself dozing off, please don't turn your TV off. We'll entertain your pets. We'll take any viewers we can get. Hey, this is a local news.
Yeah.
If I hit any wrong notes, just delete them.
That was amazing. I love it. I'm so freaking glad that we finally got you on the show.
I've been wanting to work with you on this show for so long, so thanks for having me. I hope it's not a big letdown.
No, this is awesome. I want to talk a little bit before you go. I want to touch on Lazy Circles because you and your brother Marcus have been working on Lazy Circles for God knows how long.
You know, I think
it's hysterical.
I told you an early incarnation of this way like a night we were jamming together or something, and it just had started coming together, and it's been a long journey, and it's still is a long trip, but. Yeah, it's just it would start off just kind of a pilot episode or like a two-parter opening episode for a season of a little comedy show that we shot in my hometown in Minco with all local people playing themselves except for myself and my brother. And I play the mayor, and I play an 80-something-year-old weatherman that's from the town who's like their hero. And in Oklahoma, we know that like our weathermen are heroes to us. You know, you got small towns that have more churches than stop signs, but they're still worshiping weathermen and listening to them first. And one day they're heroes, and if they mess up a little bit or if it's wrong, then we hate them. It's so,
dude, we turn on our weathermen. So I turned on one of our weathermen because he got me and my wife killed one day.
And here's the thing. It's like we all have free choice to do these things, and they're telling you what they know as they know it. Yeah. And I'm not making light of any of those things, but
the weather's unpredictable.
I think it's so fascinating. So there's an element of that in the story. And then I also play a 57 years young female librarian named Nadine Chitwood. Chitwood.
Chitwood.
And all the names, all the characters are inspired by different experiences we had in our small town, and then working in local television. And it's really struck a nerve. We've got it. It's been sent off to a lot of people. Kristen Chenoweth watched it. She reached out and she's like, "Could I see this?" So we're like, "Yes, we'll make her own copy and send it to her." And she wrote back and sang praises to us. She's so sweet. We've had, it's gotten sent all the way up to, man, I've never said this on any kind of recording. It got sent to Lorne Michaels at Saturday Night Live.
What?
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what will come of that, but it is finally, it's released on a platform called Breaker.io. And I don't know why it's IO, but that's what it is. Breaker.io.
That's the cool, trendy new thing.
You could just go, if you go to, I'm assuming I get to plug it here.
Oh,
so
yes,
if you go,
no.
You can go to lazycircles.show online. It's the internet. It's the only website you need. Delete all the Okie Show and lazycircles.show.
There you go.
And then you don't need any other internet. Trust us. It's just a bunch of trash out there.
Everything else is just dumb.
Except my wife's nonprofit, blah, 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 saving children.
Boring.
Seriously, so my wife started a nonprofit like around the time I started doing TV, and it's great. She helps. I'm going totally sidebar here, but
no, it's totally
she's
fine.
Rescuing children. She's helping this. She's helping aid this orphanage in Africa in Ghana that's helping rescue these destitute kids that are either kind of in present day slavery that's over there with fishing boats.
Oh yeah,
and just helping them get an education and changing the culture there. She works with them. It's not like Americans coming in like, hey, we're going to fix all this because we're doing so great at home. Have you been watching the news?
Let's share our wisdom with all of you people.
There's a group there called the Village of Hope that has been working so well with that, and she's just form this relationship. I'm actually going to go with her to Africa again next year
that's
to
so
do that.
cool.
And I've taken my banjo over there. See, that's where the banjo's from.
Yeah.
It has roots in Africa. And so it's this really weird full circle that we were both doing this thing that kind of links
That's so
together.
neat.
But I tell people, it's like I'm riding her coattails into heaven because she's getting in.
You're married to Mother Teresa.
Well, right, yeah. But I know when I get there, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we know her, but we know you play banjo. We've got you booked downstairs in eternity. You're going to be entertaining in hell for a while. Oh, you have an accordion? Oh, bring that. You'll do nights.
You'll be doing perfectly well.
But anyway, yeah, it's been great, and the Lazy Circles thing is fun. We're hoping to get to make more episodes, and we've got to pitch it to some networks and some companies, but honestly, our goal is to get to make it here on our terms in our own way and get it funded enough that we could pay local people like you and actors to work on it here. And nothing against the other system. It's like, so much entertainment comes from the coasts, and they make all that stuff for everybody in the middle states. And it's like, we have an opinion about, and I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all show. It is, but I'm not saying that.
I mean, it's kind of awesome.
And we made it thinking, like, is anybody going to even like this? But it screened really well for New York audiences. People in L.A., I thought they're not going to like it, and they loved it. And I was like, well,
that's
are we
great.
just making fun of Oklahomans? Like, what do they think? So we showed it in Oklahoma here at the Tower Theater, and they loved it too. And the coolest thing, the reward that I get is I get to watch these people from different parts of our country that's so divided right now, and they're all laughing at the same things for the same reasons together. And they don't know what they have in common. And it was like, okay, maybe we're doing
great.
something accidentally here. And I don't know what it is, but hopefully we can keep telling those stories and getting to work here. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought we would play a trailer so that the audience can see for themselves. So this is the Lazy Circles trailer.
Computer don't tell me what to do. Internet don't tell me what to do neither. Don't go anywhere. Stop right now. Nadine is here. Oh, it's touching me. It's touching me. Something just touched my nose.
Golden boy Terry Raines will be there, golden showering all over.
This is interesting.
So for the viewers on YouTube, you just got to watch the the trailer for Lazy Circles.
Pretty weird.
And I would suggest for the listeners on iTunes and abroad, go check that out because it's freaking hysterical, dude.
Oh man, thanks. It's one of those things. We made it kind of for ourselves, and it struck a nerve. There's some people that like it and wants to do more.
I love seeing locally made comedy. That not just locally made comedy, but really good locally made comedy is like, we have a really interesting voice that's very unique.
Well, we do, and what I really like about that is Oklahomans really connect with some of the jokes. Like, oh my goodness, but there's a big finale at the end where you see this local news promo that's made by these new news guys that come in, and it's like, oh man, and it's not making fun of, it's just an echo of what we have become used to, but it's not the same in other states. And so it's not to make fun of us really, but it's like, I feel like the jokes that we can laugh at ourselves and we can do that. And, but we have there's this pride people have in our show when they watch it. They're like, yes, my grandma burned books. Not really. But it's really fun playing those characters. And I never thought that playing a 57-year-old female librarian with a neck brace and a windsuit was going to be my favorite character I ever got to perform, but it kind of is. And when we do some of our screenings, she shows up live and protests it. She's picketing it because she doesn't like how her town was painted, and she thought she was made to look a fool.
That's so great. Man, I want to kind of let you leave on somewhat of a inspiring note for the listeners, for the young people that are wanting to get into the entertainment industry and are, kind of follow the footsteps of Mr. Lucas Ross. What would you tell young people that kind of want to follow the Ross model? Don't do it.
Ryan Belgart and I, when we started doing Two Movie Guys, we would go to the state fair and like sign pictures there with the Channel 4 credible people, and people would get in line to meet Kevin Ogle or something, and then he'd switch off with us, and they'd get up there and see it was us. They'd be like, "Oh,
man."
This lady walked up to us one time, and she said, "My daughter wants to star in just one movie. It's her goal to star in just one movie, and then that's it. How does she get to do what you guys get to do?" And we weren't doing anything there, but we're just like, how do you? So Ryan, without missing a beat, said, "You know what I did?" She's like, "Yeah, what did you do to get to do this?" He's like, "I went actually to the state fair and stood in the same line that you did, and I asked those people, hey, what do I got to do to get to do what you do? And do you know what they told me?" She's like, "What?" She said, "They said they went to the state fair, and they got in line, and they waited, and they asked that person, and do you know what that told them?" And she kept getting closer to the table, like, what is the answer? And he said, "They went to the state fair." And it went on, and he just did it as long as she finally just kind of faded away and just disappeared. And I was like, that's what I always tell people. So how I got my start is I listened to this podcast.
Exactly. You could get your start right here.
I'll tell you this, and you know this. Learn to do as much as you can. The only reason I got to be on TV is because I learned how to do one thing, and that was fill time, and I could be trusted that I wouldn't do something that would break the rules or hurt, the station. And so I learned how to edit my own stuff. I learned to write my own stuff and film it. I mean, we were literally setting up our camera and hoping it was staying in focus and going in front of it, and then editing until 2, 3 in the morning to show a 4-second long little funny video once a week that we didn't know if anybody was even watching. But man, it was a real lesson. You learn, and you do enough of those things and you keep doing it, people will see that. And then when they're ready, for you, and they ask you, if you ever have that opportunity, especially in this business, if somebody asks you, what do you want to do not be, this is the safest place. And it is I'm so bad about this myself. If there's this shame or something, it's like, oh, what are you going to be? I want to be an engineer. Like, oh, well, that's so impressive. What do you want to be? I'm like, oh, I want to be an actor. Oh, I meant like for a job, you fool. I was like, you're my advisor. Everybody has their own path to get to do what they do. And if you're doing something that somebody else did, well, they're already doing it. Yeah. And it's not to say, well, like there's a lot of different ways to be a musician, but if you go out to try to sound exactly like this person, why aren't they just going to listen to them? Yeah. And what you're doing right now with your podcast is so unique, and you have a perfect niche here with what you're getting to do. And so for somebody to come and say, hey, I want to do exactly what you do. In fact, I want to do your exact show, and I want to do it
right.
And can I just do it right where you're doing? And can I have it? Yeah. Can I have what you do?
I turn into the Daniel Day-Lewis character on There Will Be Blood, and I'll be like, you'll be my competitor. Milkshake. I will drink your milkshake.
I wish that was still like as catchphrasey as it was about 8 years ago.
Let's bring it back.
It's like... can we name that pod? This is
I will drink your milkshake. Yeah.
So I'm still not answering your question. So I would say this: for somebody that's wanting to do it, learn how to do. If you're, I'm guessing, want to do something in the entertainment business. I always said I do not want to work in broadcast news. I'm not going to work in TV. And when I was in high school and we were doing school videos like Channel 1, when Anderson Cooper started,
he was doing Channel 1. So my gosh.
Minko, that was a big thing for Minko to get. And we had those huge TVs hanging there that, could literally fall out and kill a child. They were held up with like the weakest bolts. And they're like, put that in. Okay. So we would watch the news and stuff. So we'd make our own. We could also make our own news programs. And my senior year, we were doing all these comedy stuff. We were doing SNL sketches and stuff. And the teacher, who happened to be female, I believe, Melinda Morrison, and she's such a good friend. But she kind of helped me get to do that and saw this opportunity and what I was interested in. And she was like, you can't do these stupid videos. You got to do it like the news. And I was like, man, kids don't like the news. We don't watch the news. They want to do the behind the news desk and learn how to do it. And I understand where they're coming from. And it was the idea of you have to learn the rules so then you can break them accordingly. And that's what I did. And she's like, you're never going to get a job working in news here doing it. I was like, I'm not going to work in news here. And so I went to college.
Little did you know.
I went to college and I was doing the same thing in the broadcasting class. They're like, you got to do it like this. And I was like, I'm never going to work in this. And they're like, well, there's no other place. And I was like, I'm going to do comedy. And they're like, yeah. So now whenever I see them, they're like, hey, remember how you said you were never going to work in broadcast? And I've been at Channel 4 for
You're like, shut up, years. Carl.
And I also go, hey, but also I'm still making stupid videos. I found a way. I had to learn the rules. And I'll say all that just so I can stick it in their face. No, I say all that so I had to learn the rules, and I had to learn how to do it all. I had to learn how to set up the camera myself, write myself, edit, and produce something that could literally just, at the end of the day, just fill time.
Right.
And I learned how, in the same way when I was like in middle school, I used to ask for permission from the powers that be to make morning announcements and tell a joke. I feel like I'm still getting to do that now. I've befriended the people that are in charge enough, and I fly low enough on the radar that they will let me go on TV and do something kind of fun. And it's turned into a thing to where now I don't deserve to get to do that. And people on TV are not any special or more different than the people watching. Yes, I said it. Don't tell all those egotistic, except for Linda Kavanaugh. Linda is better than everybody else, and she's so sweet and wonderful.
Maybe the entire Ogle family.
They're so great. And Linda, literally, she gave me a lot of neat opportunities that she didn't have to do, but she's just a good person. That's why you get to work for over 40 years in the business, and she's a very kind person.
You don't work that long being a jerk.
Well, and she had to do the same thing and talk about that. Like, I had nothing to climb over. She was a female trying to work and be taken seriously as a reporter. She had to learn how to set up cameras and how to edit and how to write her own stuff, and she wasn't given any real help there.
Yeah.
Like, you got to prove yourself, and that's really it. You have to kind of be willing to do it. And now the cool thing is no matter how old you are, my kids are editing so much more advanced than I did. I was hooking up 2 VCRs in high school,
dude.
you know? And all I wanted
We're living
to do,
in the future now. We are in the future.
I wanted to be able to put credits on my movies. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't have that ability. The computers just weren't ready for it. I didn't have the system. That's all I care about, is putting credits on. The thing that we fast forward past that we don't even want to watch now is what I was trying to do. Anyway, but you learn how to do all those things, and you have such a great outlet right now that you can do that. So for anybody that tells you you can be anything, you literally can be anything you want. And if you thought that was a lie, like, oh, you told me I could be whatever I wanted when I grow up, but that was a lie. No, that was a lie because those adults didn't know how true they were being. You can literally be anything you want now.
Yeah.
If you're a kid and you're like, I want to be a dinosaur when I grow up, you can be a dinosaur now. You could go get an inflatable dinosaur costume and do parkour. Barcore?
Barcore. It's dinosaurs bark, right?
Yeah. It's a dinosaur that hosts.
I'm a dinosaur wolf.
It's a dinosaur that hosts a game show like Bob Barcore. This is my joke that I'm asking you to delete. This will be the only thing in this whole podcast. No, it's like somebody might ask you, what do you want to do? And don't say, just whatever. Because you're not here just to do whatever. You're here to do something that if you, and it's okay if you want to do everything if you don't know what that is yet. But if you have a passion inside you that's like, I really want to be a dramatic actor. I really want to do makeup. I really want to do music. I want to create something. Just be honest. And have that. It's scary to make that commitment. The same way that I made a goal to meet Steve Martin, and I was almost scared. I filmed myself, and I didn't show it to anybody, but I on camera with a banjo. This is my first day doing I've got it somewhere. My first day to ever play banjo, and I'm going to spend a year playing banjo, and I'm going to meet Steve Martin. I made that goal, and I made it audible, and it was embarrassing and scary to say, but it's okay to tell people what you really want to do, because that could very well, the reason they're asking is because they want to lift you up. Mm-hmm. And they want to know what's out there, and they might not have that job for you. So just because you get to maybe you get to do some extra work or help out on a movie or something like that, and somebody's asked, well, what do you want to do? I want to be a comedic actor. Like, oh, okay. Well, that person might not be working on anything funny for a year, 2 years, 10 years, 5 years, but they might remember you whenever they are. And like, hey, I knew that guy that did this thing. And out of all the things that I did, it was taking those chances, just making something that was mine and putting it out there. And years ago, I shot this little video of me playing the accordion around my hometown. I called it Welcome to Minko, and I'm playing Country Gardens. And I'm just playing all over the place. And I did it to distract my mother. She was preparing for my sister's wedding and just kind of having a stressed out day. And I was like, let's go shoot a video around my hometown. So we were around Minko shooting this little video, and I edited it together, and I just put it online. And people started watching it and liking it. It was this weird little charming, I guess. I'm saying it's charming. I don't know. It's weird. But 2 years later, there's a meeting at a car dealership in Oklahoma, and one of the guys wanted to pitch me to do it, to be their guy. And he said, I'm going to show him that video that you did of you playing the accordion. I was like, that doesn't even have me talk. Like, how is that going to? He's like, it's funny. It's weird. It's kind of quirky. And I was like, whatever. And he said, but they also have a guy that they want to use. And then a third guy was there at a meeting, and he had a guy he wanted to use, and they all had their videos, and they were all going to show their videos, and they were all going to say, here's my guy, he's better. They all played my video. They had all found out about me from somebody else, and it's so weird. And
that's hilarious.
That's a weird magical thing that
Well, I mean, like, it just goes to show, like, you just never know. When you put yourself out there, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because you just never know.
And set yourself goals, but don't give yourself like this ultimatum that's like, okay, if I don't make it in 5 years, then I'm quitting everything.
Yeah.
Well, you might just,
if I don't become a billionaire next year, I'm
Right.
going back to the bank.
well, if somebody told me that you're going to work in a museum before you're 40, I'd be like, no way, because I don't want to work in a museum. I'm not a guy that's like a museum. I'm not smart. I'm not a museum guy. And I didn't know that the American Banjo Museum would be in Oklahoma and be more than just a museum. But also, because of that, I've got to do things I never would have done anywhere. I could have worked on 10 Steve Martin movies and he'd never come by my office and miss me. That's what's beautiful about this situation.
He came to see you.
He came by and I was busy.
The irony.
I'm sure he's listening and adding this to my file.
Like, oh, Ross.
I'm going down. But I got to work with my hero. The first entity that I ever heard the banjo from, I got to meet them. They're still my favorite banjo player, and it's, I don't know, maybe it's 2019, it's a little controversial to describe a person this way, but they were famous for being very short and working nude and also being a puppet. And you can't say puppet these days.
That's true.
The correct term is handheld American.
Ah, yes.
So Kermit the Frog was my first inspiration for the banjo. I love the sound of it. And just recently, actually, while we were having this talk today, a little press thing just went out announcing this program we're doing, an education program with the museum that I get to play the banjo with Kermit. And we shot a video together that highlights part of it. So when kids,
so cool.
When kids come to experience this education program, because there's so much rich history with where the banjo comes from and with America and with our influence, and we need to have these conversations and stuff. And Disney and the Muppets granted Kermit to be part of this thing, and it's huge.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he'll be part of it here in Oklahoma forever. So it's such a cool thing that,
Wow.
that Kermit will be linked to our state. And I just love it. And the weird thing is Jim Henson's parents lived in Meeker, Oklahoma for a time.
Oh,
so when
for
Heather Henson
real?
was doing, I'm going off on a thing here.
No, go ahead.
So, and this is going to come back to a full circle weird thing. So Heather Henson was doing research here years ago about family tree stuff, and found out that her dad, and they used to come to Oklahoma and do Henson family reunions all the way up through in between the success of Sesame Street and right before the Muppet Show took off. So right those mid-'70s, Jim would come here for this huge Henson family reunion. He was really big at the time, too, with Sesame Street, getting ready to do the first season of Saturday Night Live. The Muppets, not as we know them, but a Muppet incarnation was on Saturday Night Live that first season. Oh, boy, all the guys hated
When
it.
Oscar the Grouch was orange.
A whole different show. But Heather came here to do some family research, and we connected because we had a mutual friend. I believe it was David Bizzaro, who we both know too.
Yep.
And she and I met and visited, and she said, "Oh, you work with the Banjo Museum? I didn't know there was a Banjo Museum. I've got a banjo." And she had the banjo from the Muppet Show that every celebrity signed. This is the one that when you heard Kermit play,
crap!
this is the banjo. She's like, "Do you guys want it?" And I was like, "Heather, yes, we do." And I didn't work there at the time or anything. I was just kind of like a helper, and I did some freelance for them. And I was like, "Yes," and he should be inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Oh my
He didn't even
God.
play the banjo. 2 years later, he got inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Oh my
But
God.
mostly
that's
because,
amazing.
as a promoter of the instrument, that Heather came, I got to help hold the ribbon when they cut the ribbon, and we have Kermit on display holding a little banjo that the Jim Henson puppet played, and all this was so cool, and it has brought so much neat things for people in Oklahoma. Wouldn't get that anywhere.
Yeah.
You can't. Disney is very careful and protective of Kermit as they
Oh,
would
sure.
be. He's a very, very, highly insured puppet that we have here with us. So go see it if you haven't got a chance to. But so when I was talking to Heather and I was visiting with her cousins who were here for the grand opening, and they said, "You're from a town called Minco?" And I said, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, Jim's dad." Jim Henson's dad had a farm in Minco. And I said, "Well, it was Meeker." A lot of people get Minco and Meeker mixed up. And he was like,
Yeah.
"No, it was Minco." And I was like, "I wish, but it's not." And he's like, "It was Caddo County." He lived in Meeker, but he had a couple of farms in Caddo County. I was like, "Well, that is near Minco." Well, my grandpa started the business and moved it to the Minco area between 41 and 45 is when it was growing. And so I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, did my grandpa," and the way that you did it was you would befriend farmers and you would put bees on their land, and it helps them, the pollination of bees.
Oh, wow.
If you didn't know this, and we've been saying this forever, and now the world's finally caught up like, "Hey, bees are important." That's how they all talk all together. It's beautiful.
Bee supporters.
Uh-huh.
Bees are important.
We'll change the title of that. Milkshake bee importance.
I drink your milkshake because bees are important.
Beautiful. But I called my dad and I said, "Hey, did my grandpa put bees on? Did he have bees and work with the farmers in Caddo County?" And he's like, "Yeah, if they had like cotton." And they did. So I'm like 99% sure my grandpa and Jim Henson's dad were farming together.
My God.
This is like in the 40s. And really, like, it's so weird. So it's just these little things that I could set out to have tried to do all these things that I've gotten fortunate to fall backwards into, and I would have never accomplished any of them. So I'm a very lucky person, and I'm fortunate, but I continue to try to work hard, and I don't take any of it for granted, because you don't know what you're going to get to do the next day, or what you're not going to get to do. I don't know if my key is going to work at my office when I get back, so I got to keep...
That's how they're going to fire you.
Well, that's right. That's how it is.
Oh, man. Lucas, thank you so much for coming on the show, dude.
Thank you.
It's been 4 years in the making. We finally got you,
And
Lucas Ross.
A huge letdown.
It was the most disappointing episode I've ever recorded.
I'm disappointed in myself. I should have lied more.
Yes.
Okay,
well, where can
by
we...
the way, all that stuff is made up. I didn't meet Steve Martin, and I don't play the banjo.
Who's Steve Martin?
I don't know.
I don't even know who this Kermit guy is.
Okay, I can't go that far.
Oh. Well, Lucas, where can we find you online for those that want to see Lazy Circles, learn more about you?
If you go to lucasross.com, it's the most self-indulgent website ever. You could email me at lucas@lucasross.tv. No, lucasross.com, and all my stuff is there. And if I'm doing a concert or a comedy show or something, and I'd love to come hang out with you and meet you. And I'd love to get to perform with you.
I know.
I'm a big O Fidelis fan. I mean, my kids know your songs. Like, you've been played in my household a lot. So it's cool.
Well, we're huge fans of you, man.
We're going to have to collaborate sometime.
I agree.
Do a show together.
All right, guys. Lucas Ross, thanks so much for coming on the show, dude.
Thank you, Okie Show.
And we'll see you guys in the next 2 weeks. Bye.
Okie Show. The Okie Show is a mostly harmless media podcast recorded at Tower Studios in Oklahoma City. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you're a business or industry professional that would like to advertise on the podcast, email info@okieshowshow.com. Rates starting as low as $25.
I've been listening to your opening song. The jingle is really catchy. Is that you? Is that all your voices?
It's all me.
It's really good. It doesn't have enough banjo. If there is banjo, it's and I know you're a banjo player.
That's true.
But I was thinking, like, what if you did like a Okie Show, Okie Show. Just that.